has anything to do with Zack Snyder, though? I mean, I feel like what Zack Snyder is almost known for is his body count in most of his movies.
Right.
Dawn of the Dead and Watchmen. They all have this element of ultra violence. There's actually, I was reading about Zack Snyder. There are many movies that he was not willing to do because they weren't willing to go up to a rated R setting. And so I feel like possibly it just has to do with Zack Snyder wanting violence, and that's his thing. If he wants to do it, he wants to do it. But maybe it's not right for a Superman story.
Definitely.
And in defense of Snyder, I think he has a level of consistency with his films. He had the Dawn of the Dead remake, which I thought was a great remake.
And
then Watchmen, that was a huge task. That you had Alan Moore and you had just an entire fan base that was ready to like slit your throat if you screwed up. And I felt like he did a pretty good job. He made some changes which weren't so far-fetched from the source material, which it kind of changed a few things up, but it wasn't something that everyone was like raising their fist about, like, why would you kill Zod, But and then even he kind of did Sucker Punch, which you can't really look into that because it is what it is. It's just crazy. He's like, I want to make crazy action scenes and I want to put young, attractive-looking females in it. So it is what it is.
Right.
And so but you also have to think about like 300. I mean, he knows how to do a comic book movie, and he knows to respect the source material, and so I think that. While, yes, he's all about the action, he's all about the blood, and he is very edgy and he wants the R rating, I still think that he himself, because he didn't have a writing credit on Man of Steel, and so now I feel like with this under their belt, I think he's going to be more involved with it, hopefully. And so maybe that will kind of counter Goyer's, I did Batman movies, so I can do whatever I want. So I think that will be beneficial if Snyder is willing to kind of say, okay, now let's work together on this. So.
It's just all up in the air, Batman versus Super. I think that's a dumb title. I think it conveys that the whole movie's going to be about, it's just a Jason versus Freddy movie. It's just these two battling each other, which I think would be a cool thing to build up to, like later on, like end your whole JLA thing with this, almost like plant seeds for the, like, I think that to a degree Avengers may even be like, over at Disney, they need to be planting seeds to do a Civil War arc down the line because Captain America and Iron Man are already kind of butting heads, but they're not going to release Captain America versus Iron Man in 2018 and call it that, And
essentially, you got a little bit of that in the Avengers because, like, when they were becoming a team, you had the fight in the woods between Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man. You had Hulk and Thor fighting, which you see those small instances and it's just like, oh, this is awesome.
Right.
But Joss Whedon knew is like, okay, I have to keep this at a don't make a whole movie about it. Let's use this as a storytelling element to show, okay, they don't belong together, but we'll put them together eventually and they'll develop into this really great team. And his whole idea in that movie was about a family, because most families, they're dysfunctional, but they're a family, and they learn to come together over time.
Kind of like Spock and Kirk from
from the Star Trek movies.
From Star Trek.
And I think if they're smart, and I believe we discussed this before, I think that they'll use the amount of people that have died in Man of Steel and the fact that he kills Zod in Man of Steel 2 or Batman versus Superman.
If they don't, I think they're dead in the
because
water.
that's the perfect setup for why Batman wants to stop Superman and why Lex Luthor can use that against Superman to say, this is not your guy. Look at what he did. It's just politics. Look at the negative over here rather than the positive.
Right, he could definitely say that in all actuality, Superman killed more people than Zod.
Right.
He didn't save anyone.
There you go.